So Jay kind of started with one of the interesting / weird things about me is that I have the goofiest resume of anybody you'd ever meet. I have been an aerobics instructor. I have worked at a cemetery. I worked at one of the world's largest and most significant museums, and now I'm in Mansfield doing journalism. So, and there's a lot of stuff in between, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. My heart is in the arts. That's where it's always been. And I've always been really annoyed by the starving artist myth. It's a ridiculous myth. It's not true. It's dangerous. It's divisive. And it gets in the way of the success of artists. I Googled starving artists, and this moron is what came up. This kid is not starving in his designer jeans and his fancy haircut, and he doesn't know how to use that match needle camera that he's wearing like an accessory. This is someone who's starving, but I can tell you that the artist who shot that photograph was not. And the truth is, artists aren't starving, but for some reason, it's so ingrained in our culture and our society that we hardly even say the word artist without adding starving to it. But when I look at my own career, I added up all the times I've worked in business versus the arts, and I've made more money in the arts than I ever made in business, and I was paid fairly well. 76% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. That includes doctors, lawyers, MBAs, but I have never heard of somebody who calls himself a starving lawyer. And here's a really funny thing. There's this great research that shows that people who have fine arts degrees actually are earning as much or more than their peers. And they're happier. But it kind of makes you wonder why that's such a well-kept secret. This is Lisa. Lisa, by the way, invented the finger stash tattoo. That's why I had to include that picture. But Lisa got in her car from Detroit one day, loaded up what was left of her worldly possessions, and had $100 in her bank account. She went to Chicago, and she now owns a yarn shop in downtown Chicago, and she's living her dream. She is not a starving artist. This is Emily. She worked for me for 10 bucks an hour, and she now makes 5 times what I do at her business called City Bird that sells artisan goods. Everything at that store is handmade by people who live in Michigan, and it is in downtown Detroit. So why do we believe in the starving artist myth? Well, there's this funny thing people call truthiness. It seems real because we want to believe it, because we think our experiences add to that idea, whatever. So we believe it's real because it's all we know, but it's not real. And this guy, actually in a speech recently, said that it was a poor life choice to be an artist. He said, and I should read directly what he said that folks can make a lot more money with skilled manufacturing or the trades than they can with an art history degree. Well, I don't agree with that. So who benefits from the myth? You always have to look at that, right? Who's in power? Well, we'll start with what I call the gatekeepers, curators. I know them well. I used to work in a big museum. I have always said, you know that saying, those who can't do teach? Well, in my opinion, those who can't make art curate. These are the collectors. I love it. I found this guy. He's like a Russian collector, and look how smug he is. Okay, he benefits from the starving artist myth too, right? Because if you want to make money collecting art, and for many people it is an investment, you need to buy low and sell high. It's no different than the stock market. So if I have made you believe that you deserve to be starving, that's good for my investment. And then there's the established artists. There isn't anything Annie Leibovitz does that Mike Frank can't do. But she does a really good job of packaging herself and maintaining her power. And then, of course, there's the man. That's all the people that the artists work for, the businesses, the nonprofits, and the organizations that benefit from not paying you very much money. Because if you don't believe you're worth it, you'll be happy to take whatever they give you so they can hang on to their cash. We need to stop. We just need to stop. It doesn't benefit the artists, and it really doesn't benefit the community as a whole. And so we're going to talk a little bit about someone who did decide to stop. So you've probably never heard of this woman, but she's a hero of mine. Okay, this is Ann Collins Johns. She's a professor at the University of Texas, and she wrote a letter to President Obama and said, in short, you're an idiot, and that getting an art history degree is not a bad choice in life. Interestingly, most people wouldn't think to do that, but the president did, for his part, respond and apologize. It's a really bad half-ass apology, though, because he kind of said, like, oh, my bad, I didn't think about that it might hurt somebody's feelings, which I think is what's interesting, because everything that a politician does is so carefully measured and packaged and planned by other people, as well as them, that it never occurred to anybody that what he said would be inappropriate. We have to stop, because the truth is, if we participate in the ideology that we are starving artists, we are telling other people it's okay to treat us that way. People will treat you exactly the way you allow them to. The arts generate economic activity. That's the Renaissance Theater here in town. The arts contribute $135.2 billion of economic activity in the United States and are a growing sector. Meanwhile, the president's example of manufacturing is actually a receding sector. There is not growth in that sector, there is growth there. This is Amy. Amy was an elementary school teacher who decided one day, I'm going to become a master knitter. And then she decided, you know, I think I want to be a knitwear designer. And then her work is on the cover of almost every major knitting magazine in the world. She hasn't worked a quote-unquote real job for 7 years. This is my new blog. There's only one post up so far. It's launching today. But I'm going to be exploring this notion because I think it's important, I think it matters, and I think for artists, they can be a contributing part of what we're talking about here in Mansfield, which is arts contribute to the economy, to growth, and to a better future.